So I don't normally talk about rumors on this channel because sometimes they can be proven to be completely false, which has happened with some rumor videos that I've made. But I wanted to talk about this because I feel like there's actually an air of truth in it, and I do see a possibility that it is actually very accurate based on everything that I'm hearing. So what I'm talking about is the leak, but I'm gonna call it rumor because leaks can be completely made up as well, that Capcom is right now working on another remake of Resident Evil 1, of the original Resident Evil. As all of you know, the GameCube version, that was an initial remake of the 1996 original Resident Evil game. So it still had the fixed camera angles, but it had way updated graphics and much better voice acting, much better written dialogue, because the original. But according to this leak, they want to do a remake of Resident Evil 1 that's more like what they did for the remakes of Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4, where they have that over-the-shoulder camera angle, just like in Resident Evil 4, but you can still move while aiming like in the more modern Resident Evil games, 7, 8, and 9, and the Revelations games and games like that. So do I think, so based on, I'm looking at a Game Rant right now because there's a bunch of other outlets that have been talking about this, a bunch of gaming focused outlets, but I'm just going to Game Rant because it's the one that I'm most familiar with. And based on what we're hearing from this frequent Resident Evil leaker who goes by Aesthetic Gamer, I've heard of them myself, they're saying that the RE1 second remake is likely in the early stages of development, which makes sense because they followed up by saying that it's likely 4 to 7 years away from release. So I don't know why they're leaking something like this early on if they still got another 4 years bare minimum to work on it. But do I think that it's actually real? I don't want to say for sure that it is, but I can say that I very much believe that they are working on something because of the success of the remakes that they've been doing and how Capcom has really been trying to modernize all their Resident Evil games. And if it is 4 to 7 years away from release, that means bare minimum we wouldn't be getting it until the year 2030. Or if it is 7 years, then 2033. So I'm sure by then, Sony and Microsoft are gonna have next-gen systems. Will Nintendo by then have a Nintendo Switch 3? If it is 2030, then probably not, because that means they're only giving 4 years to the NS2, and I don't think Nintendo wants to do that. But if it is 2033, or maybe 31, 32, however long that they have, because it's all a rough estimate that we're hearing, then maybe they will. I mean, certainly if it's 7 years away, I'm sure they'll probably have just launched a Nintendo Switch 3, just making up a name. So I would hope that it would come to the whatever the current or next gen system from Nintendo is at that point, and hopefully we wouldn't have to wait several years later to get it like we have been doing with all these other modern Resident Evil games. What do you guys think? Do you think that this is actually happening? I don't know that I believe this person, but I do think it makes perfect sense that Capcom is working on another remake of the original Resident Evil. And what I also wonder is, if they're doing this for the original Resident Evil, are they doing it for Resident Evil 0 as well? Because 0 was pretty successful when it came out on the GameCube, and they've included Resident Evil 0 in the Umbrella Chronicles, so they're making it like an actual part of the Resident Evil franchise. So I do wonder if they're going to do that, and I guess with most things in gaming, we'll have to wait and see.